Habargani.
Ujama.
So I'm going to do this every session in New York, but this is the last session. One of the traditions of Kwanzaa is to start with a greeting. The greeting is Habargani. In Kiswahili, it means, what's the news? And the response is one of the whatever principle that is for today. And our principle for today is Ujama. Ujama. So we're going to do it again. I kind of scared you, made you a little nervous. I made up my joke. I'm so sorry. So, Habargani.
Ujama.
Habargani.
Ujama.
And this workshop is like so on point for Ujama. I want to introduce you to Ivy Bennett, who is an arts administrator, realtor, creative, and self-proclaimed social servant, and she's dedicated her life to teaching and being in service to others. Growing up in Liberty City, she provided a sense of security and community for Ms. Bennett from attending Orchid View. Sorry, I've known her for a long time. Yeah, Orchid Villa Elementary, joining the dance magnet program at Charles Drew Elementary, middle school, and graduating from the Superintendent's Diploma of Distinction from Miami Northwestern Senior High. Okay. She was affirmed and supported throughout her primary and secondary school journey within this community, and having access to arts magnet programs, participating in sports-based activities, youth employment opportunities at the African Heritage Cultural Arts Center, community resources, and uplifting community leaders has shaped the way she navigates through the world. As her community has poured into her, she gets to return the gesture in her chosen career path. Her passions include travel, building healthy habits, discovering new foods, and talking about money. Let's give Ivy a round of applause. Thank you.
Okay, one, I didn't realize that you would be reading that bio out loud. I appreciate it that you actually said, some of the things that I was going to say. But good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. Again, my name is Ivy Bennett, Ivy Samantha Bennett in full. I'm 40 years old, woman. I'm born and raised in Liberty City. I went through the Liberty City theater pattern, as you've mentioned, graduated from Miami Northwestern. Then I went off to school in Tallahassee, got my degree in economics and business from Florida State. And I'm here to talk to you about money. It's one of my favorite things. I embarked on a debt-free journey that we'll talk a little bit about. And it's changed my life, and I'm hoping that some of the information will be helpful to you all and be of use, and perhaps it'll change yours if that's what you seek. But this session is down to the penny, which is a business that I created out of being excited about just getting out of debt and learning different things about financial freedom. And we'll be talking about making better financial decisions by getting into the details, hence down to the penny. Like, I knew when I started, I looked at my number, and to this day, I remember the exact amount of debt that I was in down to the penny. It's like my social security number. I know it by heart. So let's get into it. So my story and my numbers, what I learned about money as a child, I think a good amount of how we navigate adulthood is throughout history and the things that we learned. I made a joke to my godmom and saying that I didn't realize that we were poor until I became an adult, because I didn't know what poor was, right? So I was raised in Liberty City in the Pork and Bean Projects. Shout out to the Pork and Beans. That's now something else, but we always had enough. We always had plenty of food. We were dressed nice. I never lacked for anything. There was love, there were resources, my mother and father made sure that we had everything we needed. And it wasn't until I became adult that I realized that the projects had a certain stigma, and it's typically for lower income. So I'm like, we weren't living like hound the hog, even though I thought that we were, because we had everything that we needed. But through my experiences and learning about money, there are small things that stick with you, like things like trying to make ends meet, or if it's not one thing, it's another. These are things that I would hear, and to this day, those little statements are like trigger words for me, because it's like, and I didn't realize it until I'm kind of reflecting back as an adult that you were here, that there were some money struggles. Like I said, my mom did everything for us. I never knew that was the thing, but now as an adult, I can look back and think about oh, okay, so you were taking money from one thing to pay off the other, but And I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, there are people who are debt-free, like, okay. I didn't know that because my whole entire thoughts about money was a credit score. That's it. That's what I knew. I knew that I wanted to have an amazing credit score. That's it. I didn't know what it was for. I didn't know what I was going to finance. I had no plans. I just knew that I wanted to have a great credit score. And I set up a session with a friend of mine named Shawnee, who's a money expert. I set up a session with her. And at the time, my credit score was a 596. So I'll be sharing all my business with y'all and hoping to like break down the stigma that it is not that deep. It's a number. It fluctuates. It goes up. It goes down. I find that people are embarrassed by it. Okay, fine. Hopefully, if you are indeed embarrassed, it's enough to actually evoke action, right? Because it can change. But anyway, so my credit score was 596, and I just wanted a like good credit score. That's it. That's it. But she was like, okay, I'm looking at, you have an okay income. You're doing pretty good. You probably just need to make more money if you have like certain goals, right? So I'm like, oh, okay. So then I'm like, credit score. And then she mentioned making more money. You think that this is just like common knowledge, but it's, again, I had like, we make it work. You use what you have and you do it what you have. I wasn't thinking more money, more, so as I'm going along, you kind of learn. So in 2016, I came upon this Banish the Balance. And one of the first things it asks us to do is write down all of your debt. Whether in a spreadsheet, on a piece of paper, whatever it is, write it down, look at it, face it, because that's the only way that you can make a plan. And that's what I did, right? So a bit about my career. Currently, I'm an arts administrator at a nonprofit. I'm a realtor, and I'm also an entrepreneur. When my friend Shawnee said, you need to make more money, I was like, say less. Okay, you have these goals, you got to make more money, got it, right? I also, sometimes it's friends, it's things you hear, it's people you're with. So my partner is a broker. He's right there in the audience. But he's a real estate broker. And when we met, he was like, you would be really good as a realtor. You should go and get your license. And right. So I signed up for the course, went inside, and my teacher said one thing. My teacher inside of the course said, there are no income limits in real estate. You can make whatever it is that you want to make as long as you put in the work. And that was all I needed to hear. So that was my more money, right? So now I jump into real estate. I'm like, okay, great. I can like increase my income. I'm doing something. But then, okay, so let's talk about my debt. My debt-free number, or my debt at the moment in 2016. When I started, I'm going to tell you what my number was. $118,725.40. That's how much debt I had. This screenshot is actually from my very first spreadsheet. Sis said, write it down. I said, I'm an Excel girl. I'm a spreadsheet girl. I'm putting in the spreadsheet. This is what I owed in 2016. And so as you can see, we got an auto loan, we got some credit cards, and we got the dreaded student loans, right? And I say dreaded because when you learn like how student loan interest and things is calculated every day, you recognize what a trap it can be. Right. It can also be a blessing because, again, because I grew up in low income, and even though I had scholarships, my family was not wealthy. They're still not wealthy. My family could not afford to just pay for my college degree. So I don't want to make it as if student loans are like all bad, because sometimes it gives us the opportunity to better our lives. So you can take on debt, but it's how you take on debt. But this was my number, and you could imagine my face was way worse than what his face is. When I saw that number, I was like blown away, right? So had a car that was $10,000. I don't even think it was new, but there's that. I had the car. I had my Visa card, 2 Capital One cards. I thought I was doing something when they would actually give me a credit card, right? Because that means that I had improved my credit a little bit. I got my little credit score. They gave me a credit card. Trap. Because look at these interest rates. But again, I always want to give balance, because it's not necessarily a trap if you use it responsibly and you use it correctly, right? So all of these things that are given to us, whether it be student loans, whether it be credit cards, whether it be personal loans, these are tools and they're resources, but it's a matter of using them appropriately. And it's a matter of developing healthy habits so that you don't get into what I was into with this six-figure debt looking crazy like homeboy up here on the screen. Yes? So what we'll cover today is we'll do some debt reduction strategies, increasing your income and developing healthy financial habits. Not sure why my picture is not showing, but we're going to act like that's a photo. All right. Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening with the tech, but that's okay. So the reason I was asking if everybody has a pen and a paper, because I am a doer. I want this to be interactive. It's not just about me. So I am going to ask you to guesstimate how much debt you have. Write down on that piece of paper, because in order to make a plan and in order to make changes, you have to face your stuff. There is no plan without knowledge, right? So how much do you think you owe? And I'm talking about, you can include, this is credit cards. This is if you owe your auntie money, that's a debt. Like sometimes we forget that, right? If you owe family members or friends, credit cards, car loans, you can include your mortgage, which is a big one. I don't always count that. Student loans. Write down every debt that you have, and I want you to calculate it. And we'll just take 2 or 3 minutes. That's so interesting. Yeah.
Talking that way, that means that you're at one point you're going to talk about like the difference between having good debt and bad debt.
Sure, we can absolutely talk about that. Yeah, I do believe, like I mentioned earlier, I do believe that debt can be a tool, but I also, yeah, it's how you manage it. And I think sometimes when we're talking about money, we don't talk enough about behaviors. And that to me goes hand in hand, right? Because how we behave affects everything that we do.
Ultimately, it's like a game that we play.
Mm-hmm.
You play the game right, your credit score is going to go up, it's going to open up opportunities for you.
Absolutely.
Things of that nature.
Yes.
Not a game that we designed, though.
Yes, indeed. Does everybody have their number?
Yep. Right.
Yeah? You're looking at it?
No, this month. A wake-up call.
Yeah.
Like, what?
So with that, and you can continue to jot down as I'm talking, but when you go home this evening or sometime before the new year, I implore you to write down, like get specific, right? Right now we're doing guesstimations. You're going off the top of your head. But really, if what you really want to do is you want to log into whoever your creditors are, you want to log in and get your exact amounts, like to the penny. Get your exact amounts. You want to write down your interest rates. You want to write down everything that has to do with this particular debt so that you can start to make a plan. Okay.
So what if 2 different credit agencies do?
Say that again.
So what if 2 different credit agencies do? So like Experian has one number.
Yeah.
And TransUnion has another.
Right. Okay. So we can talk a little bit about that. Let me actually.
That's what I'm looking at right now.
One number in terms of how much you owe, or we're talking about credit?
Correct.
How much you owe?
Right.
That's why I'm telling you to go to the actual creditor and not the agency. So these are debt agencies. So if you have a car loan and it's through Capital One, for example, you want to log in a Capital One and get the number. You want to log into the actual entities who financed it so that you have the actual number. What the credit bureaus will have, they're reporting monthly, so those numbers will change.
Got it. Because I was like, I need them to update it.
Right.
And I got rid of one,
Mm-hmm.
and we still have something else. So I'd like to figure figure out how to.
That's super easy. If you log in, you can do it through Credit Karma. You can log in. You can do it through Experian. You can do it through TransUnion. All you have to do, they have where you can dispute things on your credit, and then you pick the reason, which means pay it off or whatever the reason was. So that's really easy to do. Yeah, but we can definitely talk about that a little later. All right. So once you've gotten your number, you can face your stuff, right? So let's talk about some debt reduction strategies. I'm really bummed about my photos not showing, but that's okay. We're gonna keep going. No, it's okay. So some of the these are some of the more popular strategies, the first two, and then the last one is kind of the one I kind of made up last night. So the snowball method is what I used initially when I first started paying off my debt. I started using the snowball method, and then I went into the avalanche method because it made more sense, right? But I just want to note that personal finance is personal. What worked for me may not work for you, may not work for your friend, may not work for your family member. It is really about finding something that you're going to do consistently and working at that. Do not feel dismayed. Do not feel like, don't compare yourself to other people. Just find something that's going to work for you. So with the snowball method, what's good about it is there's kind of a low ball and you get wins quicker. So emotionally, it pushes you to go forward. In the snowball method, you're paying off your lowest debt first. So now once you've gone home and written down all of your debt, you're going to put it in the order of the smallest debt to the greatest debt. That's what the snowball method is. And ideally, let's say your smallest debt is what, $350 or whatever. And then your next debt is $1,500 and so on and so forth. Ideally is you want to throw as much money at your first debt, the smallest one, as possible. And you only pay the minimum on all the other ones because we're only focusing on the smallest one first. Then once you've paid that one off, you snowball that payment into the next smallest one. Right? And then again, you continue to pay the minimum on all the other ones and you throw as much money at the end of the month. If you have $500 left, if you got $20 left, if you got $5 left, you throw it at your smallest debt to get it down. And then after you've paid off that second one, you snowball that amount into the next one. And as you realize, just like a snowball rolling, it gets bigger, right? Because the first one, maybe it was 20, the second one, maybe it was 50. Now that's $70 that you're putting on the third one and kind of going forward. So that's a snowball method. Yes.
With credit card debt, is it like mortgage debt where there's a principal and interest and you can tell them to apply it to the principal versus the interest?
For credit card?
For credit cards, is it the same on that?
I believe that you can. It depends on. No, I'm seeing no in the crowd. No, I'm just saying I'm seeing no from other people in the crowd. No. Have you tried to pay the principal and they said that interest first? Yes.
If there's a balance, there's always going to be a charge. Period.
Right.
Gotcha.
So, okay, but here's the thing. Making your initial payment is one thing, but if you're making extra payments, there are creditors that will allow you to allocate the money where you want it to go. But I don't think that that's a hard and fast rule across the board. I think it depends on the creditor, and you have to call in and see if that's what they allow. Most people will want the interest first because that's their money. It's all their money, but that's their profit basically. So they want their interest first. Yes.
A lot of these credit card companies, if you call and find out what day your statement closes and you pay, because the day that your statement closed, that's when they add their interest and give you your payment, what you pay. If you pay it 10 to 15 days before your statement closes, you're paying on that last amount that already had the interest, and you're not adding onto the new. You get, if that makes sense.
Okay. You lower your balance before they actually charge you.
Yes.
Thank you. So that is the snowball method, and that you're paying your smallest debt first. Now, the method that makes more money sense that you end up paying less interest over time is the avalanche method, and that's because interest costs, right? And if I go back to my initial, I'm going to go back just a little bit. Here, look at my interest on these MasterCards. That's crazy. That's just real crazy. Now that I'm going back and looking at it, but again, when they gave me the money, I'm like, okay, didn't pay attention to that. So with the avalanche method, right, I would be paying off mine with the highest interest because over time you save money
Right.
because you're paying less interest. However, the avalanche method takes more time. And if you're just starting in the journey, you don't want long obstacles. You want wins initially because the wins is what propel you to keep going, which is why most people start here. Because it's like, if my tiniest debt is 300 and my next one is 12,000, it's going to take me a while to pay off that $12,000 as opposed to that 300 and I get my win and I'm like, oh, this is exciting. I could do this. So this is why most new people here, and this is also why I transitioned. So I started with the snowball method, and then I went into avalanche method. And then this one that I made up last night, the rainfall method, is just that when you're getting, me and my friend used to call them pennies from heaven, when you get a bonus, when somebody gives you a gift, when somebody hands you money that you weren't expected, it ain't in your budget, you then decide whichever one you want to pay off. It's up to you. So maybe you're tired of a creditor. Maybe they got bad customer service. You just don't want to deal with them. You don't want to look at them no more. I've decided that I'm going to take my company's bonus and I'm going to pay that one off, right? Again, personal finance is personal. You do what you need to do to keep your head in the game. All of this can be changeable, all of it, right? There are plenty of finance gurus. There are plenty of people talking about money on social media all over the place. What I've learned is that you take some of the good and then you start to formulate your own plan. And that's what I've done. I took some Dave Ramsey, some Suze Orban, some of my friends, a little bit of everything. And then I came up with my own thing. So these are the 3 most popular strategies. But again, there are tons of others. Yeah. All right. So increasing your income. It seems so simple, and I was talking to my partner about this today, where when we're in high school or when we're in school, we learn, you graduate, you go to college, you get a job, fine, right? But I don't know if there's a lot of conversations about income and making a lot of money and making the kind of money that you want to make, not the kind of money that they give you or offer you, but the kind of money that you want to make. What kind of lifestyle do I want to live? How much money each month do I want to have after my bills? Like, we have to talk about it. And probably the most important component of, paying off debt or becoming wealthy or saving money is income. Like, what do you have coming in? If you ain't got enough coming in, you can't save nothing. Number one, you can't pay off debt because you're using all of your money for your basic needs. If everybody lives here in Florida, we live in a very high cost state. And we live in a low wage state. See how that don't match, right? So with that, we have to be creative. And one thing that I think that's always left out of the conversation that online, it's like, quit your job, become an entrepreneur, do this, and all that's fine and good. However, what about if we leverage the jobs we already have? Like, when is the last time that you've talked to your manager or you've talked to your supervisor about a raise, right? How do we leverage all this knowledge that we already have, all this time that we've already put into the company? We've been there 15, 20 years, 10 years, however long, and every single year, we're just accepting the 3% that they offer or the $1 more that they offer, but you never really negotiate. So instead of telling people to just leave their job, which sometimes that is okay, I'm telling you to try to leverage where you already are, right? Ask for the raise. Talk about how much value you bring to the organization. Talk about how much value you bring to where you are and see if they're willing to budge, because just like in relationships, it's cheaper to keep them. If they have to hire somebody new to take on your job today, they got to pay today's wages. And chances are your wages are down here and today's wages are here. They're probably willing to nudge you up. So I'm going to really implore you to try to leverage where you already are. That's a strategy, not one that you have to use if they're getting on your nerves. If you're underpaid, overworked, it's toxic, by all means leave. But if you enjoy what you're doing, if you have flexibility, if it's something that you're passionate about, see how you can make that job work, right? In addition to that, you can get a second job. Now, I'm an advocate for rest. and living my best life and not working myself to death. That's not what I'm saying by saying a second job. I'm saying that once you face your stuff, once you have your number, you can make a plan. Maybe my plan says that I need to hustle for 2 years. I need to get a second job for 2 years. I can pay off all my debt, and then I'm free to do some other stuff, right? So it's just an option. So maybe you want to get a second job. I'm a program administrator at a nonprofit. It's my full-time job. I'm also a realtor, which is my full-time job, right? I'm also an entrepreneur, which I created down to the penny, where I'm helping people to develop budgets and look at their money habits and come up with plans. All that's full-time. But I make time and space for it because it's what I want. Like, I have a certain lifestyle in my head that I want to attain, so I have to do it for now. Not always. Black folk needs to rest. We got to rest. That's important, right? Side hustle, right? Cashing in on your talents. Now, I'm not saying, take the thing that's near and dear to you and try and make money out of it, because sometimes that ruins the things that we love. But if there's something that you're really good at and you can make a couple months of money on the weekend, if you know how to bake cakes, or if whatever it is, use your talent to make some extra money so you can throw it 1 second at your debts. And then another thing that we don't talk about, reducing debt is an increase in income. Mm-hmm. Once I paid off my car, I had another $400 a month. That's a raise, right? But we don't talk about that one. But you can, if you're spending over, let's say, most people's biggest line item is rent and then food. If you can bring your food costs down, maybe by $200 a month, you've just given yourself a $200 raise. So there are all kinds of ways in which we have to think about how our behaviors influence how we live, right? Yes, you had a question.
I was going to say, especially seasonally around time, I don't celebrate commercial holidays during those times that the system imposes these holidays.
Yes.
That's the opportune time to make some money.
Absolutely.
Real good money, because I've done it before.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought up the holidays, because the fact of the matter is, for some reason, Christmas surprises people every year. Now, Christmas done been Christmas since the beginning of time, and the date has not changed. If you are going to participate in the holidays, plan for it. It's in the last month of the year. You got 11 months to plan. You do not have to get into debt for Christmas or birthdays or whatever the case may be. You have a lot of time to plan. That's why it's important to know your stuff, face it, and make a plan. And in that plan, you plan for all these things, whether you participate in Christmas or commercial holidays or not, whatever it is, you have to make a plan. Yes? Money goals. Let's talk about our goals for the 2023. So I want you to jot down 2 or 3 money goals for the year, and I want you to be specific. I've jotted down some of mine. I typically do between 5 and 6. If you're kind of new, I say stick with about 2, because we want to make it feasible, right? But so my money goals for 2023 is to max out my Roth IRA. I always want to do that. That's just something you want to do every year. And 2023 limits, if you're under 50, is $6,500. That's my first money goal. I want to save 6 months of mortgage payments. This year, I purchased a duplex, right? So I have 2 units. One has tenant, the other one I will be renting out in the new year. But that means that I am relying on other people to pay my mortgage. So I better have my stuff together, because if those other people decide nah, sis, we ain't got it, the bank don't care. So I want to save 6 months of mortgage payments. I want to increase my emergency fund to $20,000. Emergency funds are so important. As I've recently seen an article that about 75-ish% of Americans don't have $400 in the case of an emergency. So that's majority of us. And an emergency can literally throw you off your path, right? So you want to be prepared for a rainy day. You know, our grandparents and things, you know, they had their mattress money. They got money around the house stuffed in the bra somewhere under the something. They always had something for a rainy day, for an emergency, and we've got to do the same, right? So I want to increase my emergency fund to 20K, and then I want to open up a brokerage account for fun investments. And these are like, you know, stocks or things that I want to kind of just play around with and learn and grow. These are my money goals, but I want you to think about 2 to 3 money goals for yourself and make them specific. Put numbers to them so they become real. I'll give you a few minutes. I'm on the... And as we only have 15 minutes, I'm going to keep going, but please still keep writing and thinking and jotting and all that stuff, right? Oh, my pictures are coming back. They're a little fuzzy, but they're coming back. Amen. So the next thing is like developing healthy habits. Like I mentioned earlier, like how you do one thing is how you do all things. And I truly believe that. Right? If you're irresponsible in one area of your life, that creeps into others. If you do things orderly and organized in one area of your life, it eventually creeps into others. So I truly believe in my heart of hearts, how you do one thing is how you do all things. And you, in order to get any goal done, whether it be finance, whatever, because it's new year, right? So every year we're like, new year, new me. And that's amazing. But that means that you have to change habits. And that's the only way you're really going to achieve goals, right? What we do now and our habits now only take us so far. And if we want to attain something bigger and greater than what we're doing now, that probably means that we need to adjust some habits that we have currently so that they meet our current goals, right? So some of the healthy habits, like this is in no particular order, but like my money mindset had to change. Once I learned that there are people that were debt-free, I'm like, I want to be debt-free. That is my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal is to be 100% personal debt-free. I will use debt for my business, but I would like to personally be 100% debt-free, where all the money that I bring in, they take care of my expenses and nothing else. I can do whatever I want to do with the money that I make. That is my ultimate goal. So changing my mindset, and I mean like really changing it. All of my passwords are like things I desire, not lying. I'm not going to tell y'all my password, but I'm going to give you some examples because I almost got a little comfortable. But for example, I have like rich black girl or, you know, ready to retire 2013 or what's another one that I like? Rich and black and all of these things. Like these are my passwords. These are things because I have to put them in every day. So they're daily reminders of what my goals are.
Beautiful.
Right? So these are the kinds of things I listen to things, whether it be podcasts, whether it be YouTube videos, whether it be, you know, things on Instagram, whatever the case may be, I'm always trying to learn and grow, right? Some of the things I get really upset because I feel like people just share nonsense. But again, you take the good and leave the rest. So I'm training myself to do that as well. But mindset is so important. How you think about money and how you, knowing that you can attain certain things is going to be huge. Now I trust myself to get into debt. Before, I was afraid. When I first started my debt-free journey, I was so afraid to spend money. Now, when I go out, if I want something nice, I'm like, I could do that in the clothing. Okay, cool. All right. So how we think about money is important. Accountability. Sometimes you don't have another coach or a partner or somebody who's working with you to do things. You have to be accountable to yourself because you want better for yourself, right? Emergency fund is a big one. please, if you've never had a savings or an emergency fund in 2023, please make that one of your money goals. And it can be as simple as $500. That's a tire blowout or whatever the case may be. Please set an emergency fund. Make that one of your money goals. It's so important because it can throw off your entire journey, right? Budgeting is the biggest one for me. And we'll talk about that in the next slide. Investments. Nobody becomes rich off just saving, right? We have to start investing too, whether it be in the stock market, whether it be in real estate. Like I mentioned, I purchased a duplex at the beginning of this year. And so that's going to be one of the things that frees up, right? Me possibly being work optional, because now, thankfully, I purchased before the market got crazy, and I also purchased from family members, right? So sometimes when grandma and auntie or whatever, they're willing to let go of these investments, you know, get yourself in a position where you can get them so you can maintain. Real estate is still one of the ways in which wealth is attained in the United States. Yeah. So you want to be in a position where that you can, like, you know, there was not an issue, but family was ready to move forward in their lives. And thankfully I was in a position to buy, which puts me in a position where now one of my units will pay the entire mortgage, which means the other unit is nothing but profit, right? That frees up my time because now I'm making money by just having someone stay in a vehicle that I invested in. So investments are huge, whatever it is. Start small, challenge yourself. Let me tell you, when I was doing my budgeting at the end of the month, when I was doing the snowball method, at the end of the month, if I had $2.15, I swear on everything I love, that $2.15 would go to my debt. It did not matter how big or how small, because it adds up. It adds up. It was $2.15 last month, and then I was like, you know what? That don't make no sense. You really took your budget down to $2.15. Then the following month, I was like, oh, okay, then it's $10. That's $10. And then it was, you know, 15 and 20, but start small. You know, you don't have to do crazy things. You can't like make, you know, a lot of people's like, oh, I want to make six figures. I want to be a millionaire, but you have not mastered 500 or 1,000 or 10,000. Like, how are you going to master six figures, right? Challenge yourself. I would always do these challenges. I have like no spend days. So every month I don't spend for 10 days, right? I have months where I cook all of my meals. So create little challenges to kind of keep your head in the game. Treat yourself. This is a big one. Pay yourself first. If not, you are not going to stick with it. Whatever brings you joy, find a way to pay yourself first. When your money hits your bank account, I used to buy myself these cakes for being a good adult. I would go and get like a Carvel ice cream cake from Publix. And I was like, you know what? I was responsible. I did my thing this week. I got up, got ready for work, did my little due diligence in real life, and I would reward myself with a cake. I would. Or flowers. And it doesn't have to be grand. Right? It can be something small, but it's a reward for myself. I'm treating myself, because ultimately we're getting up and we're working every day and we make all these plans and it's hustle, 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 hustle. But like, you're not enjoying it. So we have to enjoy. That's just as important as all this other stuff. Right? So treat yourself. Go to a nice hotel on the weekend. Rest, you know, do you. But my biggest healthy habit that has helped me pay off, and to this day I've paid off about $75,000 in debt, right? Biggest thing, oh man, my budget sheet is not showing. Let's see, hold on. Could you grab my my laptop, please? Because I want to show you all my budget sheet. From my very first spreadsheet that I showed you all, that when my pictures were actually showing, from here, this turned into a spreadsheet, which I ultimately used for my company down to the penny, right? To this day, some 6 years later, and I started my debt-free journey in 2016. To this day, I budget in a spreadsheet and I know exactly how much I spend every single month to the penny to this day. And I log into my spreadsheet twice a month, right? And so I do it like in correspondence and when I'm getting paid, because I do have a full time. And so my income is consistent, but I'm also an entrepreneur too. So sometimes I'm getting like inconsistent payments. And I just want to show you really quickly. Apologies. I'm not sure why it's not working, but that's okay. We keep it moving. We do what we need to do. People on the internet, sorry.
If you send me a link, I'll put it under there later.
Okay. So really quickly, you may not be able to see it in full,
Spread it around.
but I actually need to see it myself so I can. So really quick, I'll describe it and then you can send it around. So I created a monthly budget spreadsheet. I log into this spreadsheet the day before I get paid on my full-time job. I'm sorry? Oh, well, look at us with technology. Amen. Uh-oh. Yay. Okay, so this is my monthly spreadsheet. Like, this is my legit spreadsheet, but I took all my business out, right? So every single, before the month starts, I have my income. So I get, like I mentioned, I get paid twice a month on my like normal job. And then you see I also have a real estate column because I'm also a realtor. I have refunds, returns, others if I'm taking things back or whatever, and then transfer from other accounts and unexpected money, right? So if I do a presentation like this, or if I'm working with other clients, or if I have other business things, I put that in there. Now that allows me to know my total income for the month, and then I have all of my expenses. I have my fixed expenses that are the same every single month. I know what they are. I have my semi-variable, and then I have my highly variable. Now, if you notice, I have like rent, and then I have mortgage, right? So, and the reason I do that is because I own an investment property, but I don't live in it. But then I contribute to the home that I live in. So I have two columns. But either way, you see I have my like insurance, I have my Roth, my emergency fund, car insurance, storage. Alonzo is my nephew. When he turned 15, I got him his first like little debit card, and I've been putting $50 every pay period into his account just so he has money. He starts to learn about money and responsibility. He's 21 now. I still do it. I've upped it a little bit, but again, it's nice to be able to help others. That's one of the drivers for my debt journey. I want to be of service to my family, right? So family and friends sinking fund. I have a ton of sinking funds, and sinking funds are just small little savings for different things. It can be a travel sinking fund, family and friends. I have family and friends because sometimes depending on the income of your family, you may be the highest earner. So that means people may rely on you. But I don't want it to throw off my budget. Therefore, every month, I put $100 a month into my family and friends sinking fund. That's $50 per pay period. So what happens is, it adds up. I have a couple hundred or whatever in it. So if somebody comes to me and needs to borrow or they're short, I can take it out of that and it does not affect my budget. If it ain't in the fund, I ain't got it. But I'm prepared for it. So it doesn't throw me off. I ain't got no attitude because sis needs. No, I got it. Cool. I got you, right? Alana and Dayana, those are my nieces. I set up college funds for them. Again, this is $25 a month. These are small little incremental things that don't really affect my budget because I know what I owe. I know what I have coming in, so I know where I can allocate appropriately, right? I have 3 other nieces in Atlanta that I have to set up for them as well, right? So I have to make room, and this is just something that I would like to do. I do not have children. They are my children that I can have fun with and send them home to their mamas. Therefore, I want to be of service to my family even when I'm no longer around. So I put it in my budget. Telephone, SunPass, all that good stuff. Charitable, Netflix, whatever. So this has been the reason why I've been able to pay off like $70,000 to $75,000 in debt. honestly and truly. Facing my stuff, knowing what's coming in, making changes so I have more coming in, and then planning for it every single month without fail for the past 6 years. That's what I've done. And because I've paid attention, it's opened up new opportunities for me as well, right? I recently had $74,000 in student loan debt forgiven because I'm paying attention and I'm looking for things. And I saw that they had changed the rules for the public service loan forgiveness. President Biden changed the rules a bit. And it just so happened that I wasn't sure if I qualified because I looked and I did the math and I was like, I don't think I have enough payments. I applied anyway. And I logged in and saw 0. And I about had a heart attack from really. And he can tell you, I was like, I think there's a glitch. And so I Googled, because it was late at night, I Googled student loan glitch. I swear, nothing came up. He was like, relax, call him in the morning. I got up bright and early and I called and they were like, yeah, all 75,000 has been forgiven. So imagine, right? But even if it hadn't been, I had already said that I wasn't going to live with that forever. I'm going to pay it off. So what that means is because I had these 2 careers, had my full-time that was taking care of my general expenses, with real estate, every single penny that I made went towards student loan debt. So before they forgave $75,000, I paid off about $25,000 on my own. Because I was like, I don't care if they forgive them. I'm not living with that. I want to do what I want to do with my money. I do not want to give it away to Navient every freaking month. I'm not doing that for 25 years. No, thank you. So literally my commission checks, I make $8,000. I had again, habits, right? He paid me my check. I go he's a broker. That's why I'm saying that. But I go to the bank, deposit it. I would pull out of the drive-through, pull over in this little used car salesman lot, and I would make the payment of the exact amount that I just deposited. I never missed it. Literally from one to the next. That was my behavior because I didn't want to deal with it. Thankfully, it got forgiven. But like, it's these type of behaviors, it's the consistency, it's accountability, and it's recognizing what you want and what you need to do differently to get to what you want. I don't have to do that anymore, right? So it was temporary. It took me 6 years, but it's gone, right? Let's see what else. I think we're almost done here. Let's talk a little bit about money triggers, because again, how we do one thing is how we do everything. And this is what makes people overspend a lot. So I want you to just think about what are some of your money triggers. Jot down what causes you to give into spending temptations. These are some of mine. And I can admit that these are mine. Being a family hero, ain't nobody appoint me to that, and ain't nobody asked me to do that. I just made it my own responsibility, right? Not treating myself regularly because I was like, pay off debt, pay off debt, pay off debt. I didn't do enough for myself, so I got a little crazy. And then unchecked stress, being stressed out and not in your right mind, and then you get bored, you go to the mall, and now all of a sudden you got a trunk full of mess that you haven't even worn, right? So write down some of your money triggers. For parents, a lot of it is your children. And some of it is that you want to give them what you didn't have. But they don't really need that, honestly. I mean, it's nice to gift and it's nice to be able to, but they don't need what you didn't have. They need the skills. You know, the skills, the love, the nurturing. That's what they need. Now, if you got the extra and you got it like that, by all means, spoil your children. I believe in spoiling ourselves and our children and the extensions of us. That's why we're here. We're here to enjoy life, right? But they don't need all that you ain't had. They don't. They just don't. Yeah. So lastly, and I think it's just, oh, my little thank you. But I just wanted to say that the 2016 me would be very proud of the decisions or the 2022 me would be proud of the decisions that I made in 2016. Had I not just happened upon that challenge online and actually did the work, it was not easy. It was a lot of stress at times, and it was a lot of like just getting in check, getting my mental in check, getting my habits in check, and that's work, right? It takes work, it does. But today, some very short 6 years later, because the time's gonna keep going if we're live, the time just keeps going. You may as well do something positive with it, right? So some of my successes in those 6 years, those short 6 years, I now have a positive net worth, right? I own an investment property. I've doubled my income. I'm looking to double it again. I've developed a business that helps others, and I've paid off about $75,000 worth in debt, right? The only debt I have remaining, I do have some business debt, but I don't count that because I'm using it for investment and I'll eventually pay that off. But personal debt, I have exactly 17,000 remaining. So from 118,725.40 to 17,000, and that would be zero. However, again, behavior, I decided that I wanted to go on a 21-day road trip for my 40th birthday. And I gave myself a budget of 5,000. And while I was on the road, I was like, I deserve it. I'm going to just keep on spending, which now puts me back in debt. But that's okay because I trust myself to pay it off, and I'm going to pay it off in a timely manner where I have very little interest. I trust myself now. I trust myself to make more money. I trust myself to pay it off. I trust myself to meet my goals. And before, I was never in that mindset. So again, it's how you think about yourself, how you think about your life, and the plans that you make for yourself. I know that that $17,000 debt will be gone by February, and then I'll be 100% debt free. And every single thing that I make after my expenses will be for me. I can do whatever I want. Probably will be buying a new car soon because mine is very old, but guess what? I ain't got no car note. So it's going to keep on riding. It got me here to talk to y'all fine folk, and it still look a little cute when I wash it. So therefore, like after I'm in a place where I'm 100% debt free, I can start just living my best life. And I implore you to do the same, because there's a lot of joy and freedom in deciding what it is that you want to do with your money. It really is. It's difficult at first, but look at it, make a plan, get it done with. You do not have to live with debt forever unless you so choose to. And yeah, thank you so much for paying attention. This is my contact info. If you are interested in doing a down to the penny session, it's a 2-hour session where I really, we look at everything. I need you to print everything, how you spend your money, what you owe. I set up the spreadsheet for you. We talk about, we make the money goals real. We put all that information in there, and month to month, I'm checking in with you, making sure that you're hitting those goals. Everybody is not spreadsheet people, so I do have paper versions of that. Some of my friends who I've done these sessions with, they're like, girl, I ain't looked at that sheet since you did it. So I realized that I had to do alternative versions, but we can do down to the penny sessions. And of course, I'm a realtor, as I mentioned. So if you're looking to invest in that way, feel free to reach out to me. Or if you just have general questions, I'm happy to spread the wealth. I'm happy to spread the love. I talk about a lot of things on my Facebook, on my Instagram. I think money is very taboo in our community, and we need to talk a lot more about it. We need to talk about money. We need to talk about debt. We need to talk about credit. It is not, everybody has it. Everybody deals with it. Let's live our best lives. And thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Ivy, a nice round of applause, and we're going to take some questions. There's a couple of people who've been with us online, so I'll let you know what those questions are too.
Okay. Yes. Any questions? Yes.
Do you do any investing in the market?
I do, but through mutual funds, and EFT. So I have a Roth IRA with my job, and that's professionally managed. That I just decide what my risk factor is, whether moderate, high, or whatever, and they professionally manage it. But 2 years ago, I started my own, And a good friend of mine who is in finance, he suggested which EFTs and mutual funds that I invest in. And then I just allocate $200 a month. And I prefer mutual funds and EFTs because it's a group of stocks as opposed to just one stock where, but I do have I have a little bit in Tesla and a little bit of here, there, and the other, but most of my Roth IRA that I personally manage is mutual funds and EFTs because I prefer to invest in a group. So if one business is not doing so well, perhaps the rest are. So that's what I do. So yes.
Is that something that you would recommend?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Outside of your job doing it. Meaning-
Correct.
Yeah.
Unless your job has if you've set it up where your job, you're able to max out your Roth, then you're good to go. But if you wanted to do a brokerage account, which is one of my money goals, and if you wanted to invest in just some fun things, like maybe you're in the medical field and a particular technology device that's coming into existence and you want to invest in that. Maybe there's certain shoes that you like and you want to invest in that. So opening up alternative brokerage accounts could be really good for fun investments or things you're trying to learn and want to support. So absolutely. If you have the money to invest, whatever the vehicle, I strongly suggest that we do. We can't save ourselves to wealth. We have to put our money somewhere where it can grow exponentially.
I
Yes.
have a question coming on from Asanya, because I know I think it's, let me not say this, C2 Forever, I think it's Asanya. My student loan debts were recently moved to MOHELA,
Mohela.
and I have no idea what the status is of my public service forgiveness. Any advice?
Yes. Call them, look online. Most of the information is available online. I will say since the new public service loan forgiveness application has dropped, it takes about 3 months for them to get in contact with you. I know because I was on hold for 3 hours when not Navient, they moved mine over to, I forget the one. They're Advantage. They moved my loans over when I applied for public service loan forgiveness, and I was on hold for 3 hours. But you know what? I also got 2 phones.
Not get distracted and stay on a money track.
I think with young people and old people, discipline is going to be your best friend. You have got to be a disciplined person in general, right? Because when you learn to be disciplined in school, disciplined if you're in sports or whatever it is that you're into, when you set up routines, that helps you, right? So if you are, because the minute you get on college campus, the very first date, they got tables as long as this room, you're going to see Wells Fargo, Bank of America, They're going to give you credit cards because that's how they get you. They get you the minute you step on college campuses. And if you're not responsible, that college campus debt is going to turn into 40-year-old debt from 18 to 40. It's not what you want, right? So if you feel that you're just kind of as you grow, you learn your own personality. If you're a person who's not good at following structure, you probably need to be spending cash because you're just not ready or responsible. But if you set up certain things, if you're and it's as simple as, honestly, it's as simple as getting up and making your bed and straightening your space. It is, I promise you, because those little habits means that I'm responsible, my mind is clear, my things are where they're supposed to be, and I can go out and be responsible in other ways. So just start to develop small habits that are going to help you in that, but pay attention to how you do some things, right? How you do all things, really. If you don't feel that, if you get money, if your mom gives you money or whoever it is gives you money and you spend it right away, don't get no credit card. That ain't for you. Not right now. If your mama give you money and you're able to put up half, then you can trust yourself with a credit card. And when you do have a credit card, you always want to make sure that you keep it under 30% utilization, meaning that if it's worth $100, you don't want to spend more than 30. Or if you spend the whole thing, you better pay it off before they report it. Because to the creditors, that says that you're irresponsible. We gave you this gift and you spent it all. That means you ain't got it for real. They want to see that you're responsible. If I give you $25,000 and you go max it out, wait, no. You're no longer seen as responsible in the eyes of creditors. So look at your habits and your day-to-day. Once you've determined what kind of person you are, that'll help you determine whether you need a credit card. I would stay away from it if you spend every dime that you get. Yeah. Yes.
I have another question from online. I'm just gonna show it so people won't be able to hear me online. I plan to leave my current job and I have a 401k that is fully vested.
Okay.
What do you recommend for a vehicle to move the funds to?
I recommend talking to an accountant because I am not. However, I have called my business, like the company that I work for. Like I said, I have a Roth there. I have called when I was buying my home. I took money out of my retirement to pay some of my closing costs. And when I was on the phone, I have asked, what happens when I move my money over? Are there any penalties? Can I keep my money there when I leave? That's an option too. If you like what they're doing, if you like how they're managing it and it doesn't cost you anything, you can leave your money where it is. Or you can roll over into a Fidelity, a Vanguard. These are all tried and true businesses that have been around the block for hundreds of years. I have Fidelity. I'm not sponsored or anything. I'm just telling you what I have. So I would say talk to an accountant because that's not who I am. But you could roll it over or you can keep it where it is. Just call them and talk about what your options are. Anything else? Well, thank you again. I'd love to have some one-on-one. If you want to do it down to the penny session, I can do it with you individually. I can do it with you as a couple. Sometimes couples co-mingle their money together. We can do that. You can get in contact with me. That's my number. Yes.
I have a question. Someone has,
How much do you charge?
he has some friends that have some debt things that he feels
It's a
like-
2-hour session for $300. Yes. Yeah, call your friends. Someone pull up. That's one of the audio on Instagram. Tell your friends to pull up.
So just in case this gets lost, a lot of people online are saying, thank you, this was so informative, it was clear and encouraging information.
You're welcome. And I plan to do a lot more. So yeah, if you want to email me just to kind of keep in touch, or if you're interested in other workshops, I'm probably going to be doing some virtual ones in the new year, and I'm happy to send out the information to you. So if you want to just call me and say, hey girl, I paid off my credit card, that's cool too. You don't have to call me about business, but I just, I love when people are able to free themselves up. We deserve it. We go through a lot in this country and in our lives. So we deserve, our own freedom, our own version of reparations, because don't look like they're going to give it to us. So there's that. All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you everyone who came. Our food workshop is